Welcome back for episode 4 of the Intentional Workplace. If you didn't already get the memo, because we are in two different places right now, we both have denim shirts on. So if
That's
you're
right.
seeing this, we have the Canadian tuxedo on.
It's our uniform for today.
It is. So get with it because you'll be cool if you do. I'm Jacob Stone. Maria Williams, we're here to talk to you guys about why your best employee might be your worst manager. I am a talent acquisition consultant. I specialize in everything around hiring processes, from operations to recruiting to even interview coaching, both on the manager and candidate side. And then Maria, what is it you do? I have no idea.
So I'm Maria Williams. My company is Scale Smart HR Solutions, and I help companies that are struggling to grow because of people challenges. And I'm passionate about helping founders and leaders of businesses with all of their growth plans.
There you go. So let's just jump into it.
Great.
Why your best employee might be your worst manager. I think it's a common thing to want to promote people that are just killing it, whatever that is, whether it be in sales, whether it be in tech or account management or whatever it is. They're producing really well. And so our natural inclination is to say, you know what, they would be really good for managing this team or managing whatever it is, this department. And I think all business leaders have run into this problem where that's not necessarily true. So what do we do? How do we promote people without having it backfire? So how do we make sure that we can prep these individuals to make sure that they are set up for success and ultimately that the company is successful in that promotion?
Yeah, I love this topic because this is something that I think almost every organization that I've supported have struggled with in one way or another. Because um, often this is kind of something that, when somebody's a top performer in an organization, that they think, oh, in order to retain them, let's just make them a manager and kind of push them along the manager track. But one thing that's really important is that performance and a role and leadership are two totally different skill sets. And just because somebody is a really great doer and can get the work done and is a powerhouse when it comes to execution doesn't mean that they're the best developer of people. So I do think that that's a really important designation. And from what I've seen in my experience is that, even like the top performing individual contributors, they are used to having full control over, their work, only really having to trust themselves. They're used to getting things done fast, executing fast, and really take pride often in that individual kind of recognition. So like whatever they put out there as their own, and that's something that they have a lot of pride in. And when you shift them to a management role, that control, they don't have that full control anymore. And they're then responsible for a team. And that's a lot of time where the struggle comes in, because it's a totally new set of skills. It's the patience, it's learning how to trust other people, it's delegation, which I know and I've seen a lot of new managers struggle with that, because that's not something that you just learn overnight and is something that you can naturally fall into. And one time I saw, or I've seen multiple times, but one example that I can think of is a manager that I knew, or an individual that I knew at a company that was a like powerhouse individual contributor. She was awesome. She got things done. She was always at the top of the kind of high performer list. And when we shifted her to a manager role, she really, really struggled, because she had such a high bar for herself and the output of her work that she was constantly like redoing the work of her team.
Yeah.
And really just like in the nitty gritty of the details. And having a high bar for your team isn't a bad thing, of course, but when you have that super high bar and expect the output to be exactly what you did, And then, you could have a low bar for patients too. It's kind of, it can easily lead to overwhelm. So
Well, and
that's my long answer, but love to
yeah,
hear
no,
your perspective.
and I think as you were talking, it popped into my head too. And this is I've had these conversations multiple times from a talent acquisition part, is that the individual contributor has an entirely different mindset, either
Mhm.
whether it be naturally or just what their job function is, than what a manager is. And so, what I mean by that is managers have to take a larger, more holistic view on what the objectives are, on what our goals are, whatever the task is at hand. Whereas individual contributors are in the here and now.
Mhm.
Really good ones, they think a little bit in the future, but it's really like, what can I get done at this moment that's going to move this project or this, whatever it is, this sales cycle, this whatever, along. And so making that transition from, just working 6 inches in front of your face to now I have to be in charge of like a wider view. I got to look weeks, a quarter, even years out. So what we can do now is going to affect what we're going to do then. That takes, first of all, you have to really know what you're doing, I think, to hit the ground running to do that. And then also, I think it takes an individual that's passionate about bigger picture type things. I know, like with me, I've been a manager in a few different types of roles before, and I tend to be a very big picture kind of a guy. But I do know that on the other side of that is when you're dealing with even higher management, if you're middle management, you're dealing with founders or board members, especially, or things like that. Um, you get them breathing down your neck about this, that, and the other thing. And it is your job as the manager to shield your team from that. And so you got to think of bigger picture of how can I make my team more productive while also keeping them happy, while giving my team the tools that they need to be successful, while also keeping them happy.
Yeah.
So you bounce it. And so it takes an individual to understand the culture of it, to understand the bigger view. Whereas with the individual, if they an individual contributor, if they are really killing it, crushing it, doing whatever, to make that leap, not always, but a lot of times they struggle, and they struggle pretty quickly. Um, so I guess on that, then, I mean, let's just say for the sake of argument, um, you want to promote, Johnny, because Johnny's doing really good. He's been with the company for 5 years, but everything's kind of going stagnant. You don't want him to go anywhere else, right? So, what can leadership do to evaluate this potential of Johnny or people like that? To maybe, would they be a good manager? How do we keep them engaged? What can we do to give them more responsibilities? What in your experience, I guess, what has worked, what has not worked in that regard?
Yeah, so in this case for Johnny,
I like
for a
how we
few
use Johnny too. That's like
Johnny, yeah, I like it. Let's go with it. So, Johnny, in this case, a few things. One, I would make sure that I had a conversation with Johnny, or somebody does, whether it's the HR, the Johnny's manager, someone to really get an understanding of what he wants, because that to me is really important. And not everybody wants to be a manager. And I think a lot of people, and I've seen this firsthand, a lot of people feel the pressure um, to go that direction because they feel that that's the only way to keep going up in the organization.
right,
But I think that's the most important thing is like, Johnny, what do you want? Do you want to be the leader of this company someday? Do you love the day-to-day work that you do and you feel fulfilled, like, doing the work that you're currently doing and don't have a desire to, what do you want? So I think that's one. The second one that I always look for is what type of natural capabilities does the person have when it comes to leadership? So in this case, has Johnny taken a lead on a project before? Has he mentored other people? Has he coached other people? Does he raise his hand to, be part of a team or lead a team? So those types of things are often telling of what kind of natural leadership capabilities or leadership opportunities, I guess, does he gravitate towards? And then the third I would say is just the company itself and what kind of structure and support is there in place for managers? And if there isn't really anything, and it doesn't matter the size of the company, big or small, there should there should be something in place, or you should think about putting something in place when it comes to manager enablement for
Right.
first time managers. What type of skills do they need to learn? What type, because as you were mentioning, I mean, shifting from an individual contributor role to management, it's not an automatic, you can't think of this as an automatic, okay, this person's great at this, therefore they're going to be great at this. It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. These are learned skills. And if you don't have the right enablement and training to have Johnny be successful, then don't push him in that direction, if he's
Well,
not ready. So,
well, and I think that like you said, the employee engagement and enablement programs are clutch with if you're promoting with anybody. And I know
yeah,
we're talking about management, but also even if you're going from help desk on up to tier 1, 2, 3 support, whatever it is, having that training in place, um, it's paramount. I mean, you
yeah,
can't, you're setting yourself up for failure if you don't have it. The other part of it with the conversation, and is with the conversation of what defining the role. So when we say manager, we talk about managing with people. Well, I don't want to be a manager of people, but I do want to be a manager, says Johnny. I do want to be a manager of process. So I want to be able to think really long and say, okay, this operational thing, how are we going to get from point A to point B? And as an individual contributor, I can tell you that we've bottlenecked here, here, and here. And I have really good ideas of how we can overcome that. So I want to manage this part of the process or operation.
hmm,
That's a form of management.
yep,
That makes sense for an individual contributor that maybe doesn't, I don't want to say have the people skills, but like doesn't have the people manager skills to deal with the politics of all that kind of stuff. So I think
hmm,
having a conversation with the candidate, Johnny, or in even key stakeholders of let's define the roles that we have. And if, what roles can we create to keep our employees engaged and help them move up and better themselves in their careers? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for.
yep,
We're here to better ourselves. We're here. Yes, we want the company to succeed because if the company succeeds, that means that we ourselves are succeeding.
yep,
So,
yeah, totally. And
so
and I think too, just to challenge I know we're throwing around the word promotion, but to your point, I mean, there should be two different tracks, and I've helped organizations do this too, and it doesn't matter the size. Again, small companies should be thinking about this as well, but you shouldn't just think about the only way up is management,
yeah,
because that you pigeonhole the people that want to own process and want to own, excel in kind of the technical abilities or the non-management. So it is important as you're thinking about job leveling of different roles, career paths in an organization, to think about that in two different ways, because not everybody wants to be a manager and go up the leadership route. There's a lot of opportunities for growth within the company and whatever kind of role you're in to go a non-management track, and setting up the right systems, job levels, and development opportunities and career paths, I mean, should kind of keep that in mind. So,
yep,
yes, agree with that.
good.
All
Well,
right.
I know we're running short on time here. I know next week we're talking about why pay isn't the reason that people leave most of the time. So I'll be excited for that conversation.
Yep.
Follow us on LinkedIn. Um, Listen to us on Spotify, and we'll see you next week.
Great.
All right.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.